Anchors up, sells it full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. Doing all right. How are you doing today?
You know what? Any day after, any day that, or any day directly after Michigan loses is a good day. It's a new tradition. It's a good tradition. There we go. That wasn't a very good. It may have been fine.
I heard it.
Okay, it was good then. It was good then. I tell you what, because I got the headphones on, I don't always know how it sounds. So sometimes I judge it by how splashed I get.
All right. Here we are. Week 8. Ohio State was on a bye week this last week here, and we were hoping to see some chaos this weekend. And
no.
Team Chaos let us down this week.
Team Chaos also on a bye week this week.
They were.
We had what we in the Discord.thesloopcast always be plugging, what we in the Discord server like to call true chaos. And define true chaos by an unranked team beating a ranked team. That's what it's just true chaos, right? Didn't happen this week. All 3 top 25 losses came at the hands of another top 25 team. And not only that, but like all pretty similarly ranked teams.
Yeah.
Illinois was only a couple spots ahead of Michigan. Alabama was 7th. Tennessee was 11th. Texas and Georgia were both in the top 5. So, yeah, it wasn't not a chaos-rich week at all.
No, but there's a lot of near misses. There's a lot of near misses as well as we'll get into it as well. I think there was like a handful. There was a handful as well.
Yeah, we'll get into those as we fill out the tier list. So I tell you what, Kyle, let's just get to the tier list.
Sure thing.
Oh shoot, I did it, Kyle. I'm sorry, I always do this. This is the Sloop Cats or the Sloop Picks scoreboard where I am still winning. Wow,
oh, not by much. Not by much.
Well, I gained ground on the guest pickers and stayed even on you.
Hey, I gained one on the guest pickers, and I am
now tied.
Cheat. I am tied. I'm tied with the guest speakers.
Yes, but you're both 2 games behind me still.
That's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Wasn't a good week overall for the Sloop Picks. Kyle and I tied for first, at least in the online or the on pod Sloop Picks. And we went 3 and 4.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. And speaking of unfortunate, as I said, there was no chaos this week. There was no true chaos this week. So no one scores on the Chaos Theory scoreboard. In our defense, it was literally impossible to score.
Mm-hmm.
There were no true chaos, and this is sort of where we get the phrase. There were no true chaos games this past weekend. So
I do want to back up on our pick'ems there. I do remember, Jared. I do remember you saying when I picked Tennessee and you picked Alabama, you said, "Thank you for the point."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
And how'd that one turn out?
Not in my favor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I also said, and I don't remember if I said this on the podcast or in the Discord server. Discord.thesloopcast.com, always be plugging. I also said that the surest bet would be that Purdue was going to cover against Oregon. I didn't predict Oregon was going to win, or excuse me, that Purdue was going to win, but I did say they were going to cover.
They were one score off, Jared. They were one score off.
They were one score off from not being shut out too.
All right, let's get back into it. Because I think we have some teams to move around here. So
Zach says there was almost chaos, but Iowa State escaped. They were one of our near misses for sure.
Yeah, there was a few of them. Oregon. So in our current S tier with Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, no particular order there.
No particular order. Very important to point out.
Definitely Oregon stays up top. Ohio State, we still have as favorite to win it all there, has the best loss. I guess you would say the best loss.
Yeah.
Out of anybody right now. One loss, a 1 point loss on the road to Oregon, who's currently number 1. Yeah.
And along those same lines, we have to ask the question, what do we do with Texas, who lost 1 score to Georgia, who is another team
two scores. It was 30-15.
Yeah, I suppose it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at home. Completely different here. Completely different.
That's fair. So the question still remains. Well, I tell you what, let's just do the obvious thing. And Zach asks the question, do we move Georgia back to S 100%?
Yep.
That's
Georgia back to S tier.
That's 100. Indisputable. Georgia's back in S tier. Absolutely. The question is, do we leave Texas in S tier?
Do we leave Texas in S tier?
My vote is yes.
I know that they were on a bye week, but what about the Nittany Lions? Undefeated, 6-0.
Slow down. I asked about Texas.
I think Texas. Gosh, it's tough. I look at Texas similar to Ohio State. Similar, okay. They've looked good early on against inferior opponents.
Okay.
They go and play a top 5 opponent and lose. It's just like Ohio State. But the difference obviously is that Texas lost at home by 2 scores versus Ohio State on the road by 1 point. So I think they're very similar, especially after what we've seen from Texas and how they're not as well-rounded as what we thought leading into the weekend here. So if I put Ohio State as S tier, I still have to put Texas as S tier because I look at them as a very similar team.
I agree. It's weird to say because it's maybe the last team coming into the year that you would have said this about. I think Texas has an issue at quarterback. Additionally, their offensive line, which was supposed to be one of the best offensive lines in the country, it got ripped apart. Ripped apart by Georgia. So Texas didn't just lose. They had 2 of their best groups get abused, which feels defeating. Overall, Texas's loss is worse than Ohio State's loss for reasons you already pointed out. But also just like 24-0 at halftime. That's what it was, right? 24.
Yeah.
That's devastating. And I guess you could say the same thing about Georgia, since Alabama devastated them at halftime in that game. Although Georgia came way closer to... I mean, Georgia actually came back and took the lead at one point. They didn't win the game, but they at least came back and took the lead against Alabama, whereas Texas did not.
Well, they made it what was it? It was 24-15 at one point. So they were... I mean, it's still a two possession game still, but they made a comeback in that third quarter there. But man, like, did you see how many rushing yards Texas had? You want to guess? Want to guess how much?
I would guess not much.
On 27 attempts, how many yards?
I know they were primarily throwing to Blue. instead of running blue.
I know, but still.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I don't have a guess, but I'm guessing it was bad.
29.
Yeah.
1.1 yards per carry there.
Yeah, their offensive line got abused.
They did. Absolutely.
Now,
gosh, like Walker for Georgia he had himself just a
Heisman game. A Heisman game.
Yeah, he had him.
He at this point he's going to be the token. Every year there's a token, either defensive player or offensive lineman, someone who's not like a normal Heisman candidate.
Well, that's wow, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name out in Colorado. He everybody's talking about him.
He's still a skill position player though. He plays wide receiver. Yeah. It doesn't count. It's like saying Desmond Howard, but that doesn't count.
All right. So we keep Texas there. I'm perfectly fine there.
Do you really want to make the case of Penn State favorites to win it all? Is that what you were starting to say before? Because I just don't see it.
Putting Penn State, putting Penn State in S tier. I wanted to bring that up. They are 6-0 right now.
I understand.
They have. I'll say this: they have a better win than Ohio State and Texas right now.
I love the Illinois story as much as the next guy. I get it. I do. But no. I'm not.
All right, I'm just bringing this up. I'm bringing this up because they do have the better win over Ohio State and Texas. They do go on the road this weekend up to Wisconsin. And then it's the showdown against Ohio State the following weekend too.
So again, we all love the Illinois story, and I get it. They're ranked. Penn State has a win over a ranked team. Ohio State doesn't because Iowa has totally fallen off. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take a look at Illinois real quick.
All right.
They demolished Eastern Illinois. Good job. They had a close game against Kansas, who's bad. They demolished Central Michigan. Good, as you should. They had an overtime win against Nebraska, a team that just got run off the field by Indiana. Mm-hmm. Was 49-7 or something stupid like that.
Worse than that.
56-7?
Yes.
Okay. I think I turned it off before the last touchdown. Forgive me. They went to overtime against Purdue, which should have gone into our factoring of the Purdue, Georgia, or Purdue Oregon game. Oh well. And then they did just beat Michigan, so congrats to them on that. I'm just saying, I love the Illinois story as much as the next guy, but I'm not. Okay. I'm not going to hand Penn State flowers over it.
We'll keep Penn State in the A tier. I just wanted to bring that up just because they are undefeated and they're currently ranked third in the AP and the coaches poll right now. So
yeah,
they want to bring it up.
You know, I hate to be eyeball test guy, but they don't pass the eyeball test to me.
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, I'm going to move a little quicker here. Boise State on a bye week, they stay there. What about Tennessee? Does Tennessee go up to the S tier or do they stay in the A tier after their win over Alabama?
I'll be honest with you. Watching that Alabama-Tennessee game, I don't like either of those teams.
Right. That's fine. That's fine.
I think that they're both insanely flawed.
Okay. Notre Dame beats Georgia Tech soundly.
Yeah.
They stay where they're at. BYU, I believe, was on a... Nope.
They played Friday.
That's the one. Yeah, they barely beat Oklahoma State 38-35 here. Still undefeated. Still stay in the A tier, in my opinion. Thoughts, Jared?
We need a Big 12 team. We have them in Iowa State in A tier.
Yep, and
Iowa State didn't look any better this weekend.
Yeah, and the exact same score, 38-35 over UCF.
And Oklahoma State is a bad football team. We literally have them in M tier, but they're still better than Central Florida.
And neither of these teams play each other.
Yeah.
In the regular season.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll need to keep, maybe we'll shuffle things around, but at the end of the day, we have to keep one of those two teams in the A tier.
BYU may go.
We will not be moving
undefeated.
Bama to M tier.
BYU may go undefeated in the regular season.
Who do they got left?
They play UCF, Utah, Kansas, Arizona State, Houston. The Utah game is at Utah
or Arizona State could upset them, but I would call it an upset.
Iowa State has Texas Tech, Kansas, Cincinnati, at Utah as well, and Kansas State.
That's a much tougher road to hoe.
Yep.
That being said, there is still a Big 12 championship game to play too.
Fair enough. The other undefeated team we have in A tier here, Miami. Miami with a close win.
Also didn't look great this weekend.
On the road against Louisville. Louisville has a pretty good offense. I will say that. But Miami's defense is not that great. You look at the past few games here, 45 against Louisville, 38 to Cal.
Yeah.
Not a good Cal team.
No.
34 to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not all that great this year as well, too.
They have major defensive issues.
They got major issues here. Yep. But they are undefeated, and we got to have an ACC team in here as well. So
I mean, they're solidly an A team. I mean, if you look at all of our A's, all of these teams are flawed. Penn State has terrible offensive issues.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee they're just sloppy in general. Like, they're inconsistent and they're sloppy. Notre Dame, I think, has some offensive issues. They're playing Navy this week. I'm looking forward to that. I think we'll learn something in that game, a thing or two.
Yeah. All right. In the last team we have in A tier, we got to move down is Alabama. Alabama goes down. This is tough. That's 2 losses now. That's 2 losses in the SEC for Alabama.
Yep.
Like, I guess you put them in the B tier because they can make their way as the very low end, like one of the last teams to make it in my opinion. But
we'll get to Indiana. Chill, Zach.
Yeah, but yeah, that's tough. Like they gotta. Man, yeah, Alabama's going to need a lot of help. They're going to need a lot of help.
The Vandy loss should have put them in M tier. No, Vandy is a good football team this year. I hate to break that to you. Vandy's a good football team this year. They're not a great football team, but they're a good football team. This is not your daddy's Vandy this year.
All right, and we do have to move. So we have 4 teams in the SC, 4 teams in the S tier.
Yes.
Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Texas, in no particular order. A tier, we have Penn State, Boise State, Tennessee, Notre Dame, BYU, Iowa State, and Miami. So for
we have to move it.
Counting, that is 11.
Yeah.
So in our tiered list, we have to have 12 teams, just like in the playoffs this year, in S and A combined. So we moved Alabama down. Got to move somebody up. Who's your first thought, Jared, of who should go up there? Because there's in my mind there are 3 teams. There are 3 teams in our list that can be moved up.
Okay, hold on. Let me visually guess. I'm going to visually guess. You're talking about these 3 teams?
Yep. And those that's listening, Jared has Clemson, LSU, and the Hoosiers of Indiana.
Yes. And what a wild list of teams to say together. Indiana hammered Nebraska.
That was to me, that was more so than the Texas losing by 2 scores at home to Georgia. That was probably the most surprising to me. 56-7 to Nebraska. Like,
are we a little more nervous about Indiana? Absolutely. I mean, because we started at like 1, and so even if we're at 5,
I'm still just trying to figure out like what happened in that game. What happened, Nebraska? Like I'm still
interceptions played a huge role.
It did, yeah. Raiola had 3 interceptions for that game.
Right, yeah. Raiola was
28 for 44. Not that great. What is that? Not good. It's under 60%, 55% completion. Not good.
He looked like a true freshman. Like he has a bright future. He's a very good quarterback. But this week, Nebraska, every week, if you play a true freshman, eventually you have to pay your play a true freshman tax, which they did.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's still
channeled his inner Adrian Martinez. But so that's rough.
Yes, he threw 3 interceptions, but the Indiana defense, we never talk about Indiana having a good defense.
Yeah.
They held Nebraska to 2.4 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
Average. Per rush.
Yeah.
Where did this Indiana team come from?
I think Nebraska was just totally out of sorts. Like, I don't know. Like maybe their defense did take a big leap forward.
56-7 out of sorts.
Yeah. Listen, dude, football's a momentum game sometimes.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about, but yeah, that happens. I mean, you literally see it in the NBA during a 7-game series where one team will win a game by 20 points and then you turn around the next week and the other team wins a game by 20 points. Like, because football's football and these teams only play each other once, we put a ton of weight on these individual games because we have to. But sometimes it's literally like shit happens and you got behind the 8 ball. It's literally just it sometimes.
Fair enough. All right, we do have to pick a team though, Jarrett. We do have to pick a team to be put in A tier, but we'll get to that after our first ad break here. So
I was hoping you were.
We are the Sloopcast. We are the Sloopcast. Check us out over at thesloopcast.com, where you can find all of our lovely links, such as our YouTube page, youtube.thesloopcast.com, where you can see Jared and I's fabulous faces and watch all of our visuals that that's put together here by Jared. So if you want to check us out, again, youtube.thesloopcast.com, discord.thesloopcast.com is our community area. If you want a area to talk about Ohio State, talk about just football in general, check out discord.thesloopcast.com. And if you want to help support Jared and I, you can go ahead on over to patreon.thesloopcast.com as well. With that being said, we'll go ahead and take our first ad break and be right back.
Went to the wrong screen again. It's basically tradition at this point. Yeah, we do need to pick a team.
So the other team's LSU. This weekend beat Arkansas 34-10.
Not a great showing. Arkansas is pretty bad.
Clemson didn't either. They beat Virginia 48-31. They let up a lot of points to a Virginia team who's 4-3. 4-3 this year, yeah.
And let's not fall prey to recency bias. I know if we judge this based off of last week, Indiana's the clear answer. But we shouldn't base this purely on what happened last week. We Indiana, despite what we saw last week, I still have to believe has some serious defensive issues. But then again, so does Clemson. Clemson also has serious defensive issues. Right now I feel like the safe pick. I feel like the most complete team of the 3 still feels like LSU to me.
I agree. I would agree with that.
Unfortunately, They're also the team maybe most likely to get kicked right back out of A tier because I think they have a tough, I know they have Alabama on the schedule still, whereas like Clemson has a pretty clear road.
Yeah. Yep. LSU on the road this weekend at 7:30.
Yeah.
To College Station.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, they got they got Texas A&M, they got Alabama on the schedule still. So I feel like we're going to put
LSU's next 5 games. Their next 5 games: Texas A&M, Alabama. We'll see how Florida does. They surprised a little bit here this last weekend. Vanderbilt, and then Oklahoma are their last games.
I'm sorry. Did you just acknowledge that Vanderbilt's actually a pretty good team? Okay.
They are ranked.
That was for the chat
right now.
That was for the chat. That was for the chat who refuses to acknowledge that Vanderbilt's actually kind of good this year.
I would agree. Let's put LSU in the A tier, but Clemson and Indiana right there on LSU's heels to go into A tier.
They feel like the most deserving complete team of the 3 right now, and we can't not include them in A tier because they have a tough schedule coming up. You know what I mean? That's not a fair metric. I feel like we'll eventually be putting Clemson or Indiana in there to replace them.
I know we just made our decision, but Indiana's closest game was a 14-point victory over Maryland. No one's come close to
let me ask
2 scores of Indiana.
Well, then let me ask you this. Who would you rather see in A tier? Iowa State or Indiana?
Iowa State.
Okay, see, now we're thinking. Now we're playing podcast. Now we're having fun. Now we're doing the podcast thing.
I mean, that seems silly for us to drop Iowa
Why?
State down.
Oh, no. This is not about dropping Iowa State down. This is about moving Indiana up. We shouldn't leave Iowa State there simply because they were already there. That's what the AP does. We're not the AP. We don't grandfather someone into a top 10 slot until they lose a football game. We should put 12 best teams, and we know it's not really the 12 best teams because there's auto qualifiers involved. But of the wild card leftover slots, it should be the best teams.
All right.
That's not reading, Kyle. So I don't like that person. You probably I doubt you know who that is, but that's not a good person.
Know.
Okay.
That's fine.
He's not. I don't like him. So yeah, we're gonna move Indiana up. His name's David Dobrik, and he's a shithead. He's from the non-sports side of YouTube.
All right. So for A tier, we took down Iowa State and added Indiana. So right on that cusp of A tier, we have Clemson and Iowa State.
Kyle? Kyle?
So
Kyle?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How do you feel about swapping Clemson and Miami?
No.
No?
I can't right now.
Okay.
No, not right now.
I was willing to push you on the other one. I'll let you have this one.
All right. Illinois is solid B tier.
I'd say so, yeah.
Only have one loss this year to Penn State. And then had that victory over Michigan, but they get to head on to Eugene this weekend. Thankfully it's a 3:30 game, not like a 10 p.m. game, Jared.
Yeah, there's some. We'll talk about it on the Sloop Picks episode on Friday, but there's some terrible scheduling coming up in the Big Ten.
Yeah, Kansas State had a surprise win. I'll say a surprise win on the road against West Virginia, 45-18. A solid solid B tier team still.
I wouldn't say I would say it's surprising that they won as decisively as they did. Is that?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that they won. I'm surprised that they crushed West Virginia.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you meant.
I think a team that's also surprising here that we have in our B tier, SMU.
Solid.
SMU took care of business on the road against Stanford. Not a good team, but took care of business 40-10.
Yeah.
And they're undefeated in the ACC still, so they're a solid B tier here.
Go back in time.
Their only loss was a 3-point loss to BYU.
Go back in time and explain to Kyle 5 years ago that SMU and Stanford are in the same conference.
Oh, crap, they are.
Okay, go back 5 minutes ago and explain that to Kyle.
College football is weird now.
And you know what the weirdest part is? Neither of them are in the Pac-12 or Big 12.
Yeah. Texas A&M. Where do we have Texas A&M?
The unimpressive win against Arkansas. Was it Arkansas?
They had an unimpressive win against Mississippi State.
Yeah, the other Arkansas, Mississippi State. They're like substandard former SEC West teams. They're the same team in my mind.
Before the next.
Also, Arkansas is legitimately much better. I'll say that. Mississippi State is much worse of the two.
Before I go into these other ones here, Jared, Pitt still undefeated. I mean, when can we talk about Pitt moving Pitt near the top there? They're undefeated right now. They are 6-0.
Who they have on the schedule?
They play Syracuse this weekend.
Okay.
Then they go on the road to SMU.
Okay.
Then Virginia. Then Clemson.
Okay.
Then at Louisville, and then Boston College.
So, I mean, if they can be undefeated going into Clemson and beating Clemson, because that's not an easy path on the way to Clemson for Pittsburgh.
No, I mean these next two games are definitely tough.
So we'll know what Pittsburgh's made out of over the next 3 weeks. And as someone who is from Eastern Ohio and therefore would love to give Pitt the benefit of the doubt, they don't pass the smell test.
All right, that's fine.
In my opinion, they're not going to go 3-0 over the next 3 weeks. They're not going to do it. They might not go 1 they might not go 2-1.
We already discussed having Alabama move from A tier to B tier. And the last ones here, before I talk about those other two here, Jared, Texas Tech
got hammered.
What they did.
They got hammered.
They did. All right. Move them down to C tier. Yep.
They got hammered by Baylor, who sucks.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
Nebraska, you got to move down to C tier as well now.
Yeah, they got hammered by Indiana, who's good at least. At least they got hammered by a good team, unlike Texas Tech.
Liberty lost. Didn't they?
No, but it was an ugly win.
Wow. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I guess they stay in B tier. Yeah.
Yeah, it's listen, we keep Liberty around because we need to have another group of 5 team around in case Boise loses.
I mean, Missouri is kind of the same way with the SEC. Yeah, they're 6-1 right now, and we have them in B tier. But
God, they've looked like hot garbage.
They should have lost. They went into the fourth quarter down 17-6.
Now, in their defense, they lose their starting quarterback like 5 minutes into the football game. He doesn't come back until the fourth quarter. So, Kyle, you say they go into the fourth quarter down X number of points. Guess when they got their touchdowns? After their quarterback came back. Like,
fair.
It's
fair.
For this game in particular, and Missouri's had some struggle games outside of this game. So I'm not trying to make a blanket excuse for Missouri. I am just talking about this game. they're just night and day different without Cook at quarterback. They're just like a lot of teams. If they lose their starting quarterback, they're going to look a lot worse. That was Missouri from basically the first 3 quarters of the football game. In their defense.
Fair enough.
Okay, Kyle.
Right,
we're moving down to C tier now.
Nope. I got 2 more teams.
Well, but they're currently in C tier, yes?
No, they're in B tier.
Oh, you just skipped over them according to my chart. My bad.
What about Army and Navy here? Can Army and Navy do anything? Can they do anything to get themselves moved up?
Yes. First off, Navy plays Notre Dame this weekend.
Yep.
I'll swap them. If Navy wins that football game, I'll swap them. Notre Dame already has a loss on the year. If Navy beats Notre Dame, they take Notre Dame's A tier slot. 100%. Are you going to fight me on that? You should.
I have no rebuttals.
So no, you aren't.
Both of these teams are just handling every team that, again, granted, the teams that they currently played it's
right.
Not the greatest teams, but
correct.
They're doing what they need to here.
Absolutely, they are.
That is just bonkers. Yeah. What's even more bonkers, Jared, because it always seems like a top tier team plays one of these 2 teams, and no one has. No one's played Army and Navy. So I think they're finally catching on to one of our rules here, Jared.
Yeah, don't play Army, don't play Navy, don't play Appy or in the Big Ten Central Time Zone at night. I think that's how we'll reword that one with the Big Ten West dead.
Yep. And I think Army plays Notre Dame a month from now as well. So we'll see. Yep. Rule number 4. Yep.
Rule number 4. We're still working on the updated wording to that one because the rule used to be don't play Big Ten West teams at night, but there is no more Big Ten West.
Anybody should move up from C tier to B tier.
I have a list of candidates for those of you watching the YouTube version of the show. Exhibit A, Vandy discussion. I understand. But sure, let's just ignore everything that's happened since then. Spikes.
I only have 2 teams. Oh.
For those of you watching the YouTube version of the show, I have a group of teams sorted to the left of C tier, all of which for discussion. Now, not all of them are for discussion to move up. Some of them are for discussion to move to M tier.
All right.
So why don't we just work through this list, see who goes where. But before we do that, let's take another quick ad break. Because Kyle, I think we're gonna add some more teams to M tier. I think it's happening. But first, we're the Sloopcast. Go to sloopcast.com. Yada, yada, yada. Kyle already gave you the big spiel. I'm just going to say, if you need to find any of our links, just go to thesloopcast.com and you'll find a link that takes you to all the other links, including 2 separate merch stores, our YouTube channel, our Discord server, RSS link for the podcast, Spotify page, Apple Podcast page, all sorts of different pages. You find all of that at thesloopcast.com. I went to the wrong damn scene again.
That's his tradition.
Yeah, really. I need one of the Elgato things. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The screen scene thingamabobber deals.
Yep.
Name's escaping me. Not important. Louisville. Louisville just lost this weekend. I don't think they have the expectations worthy of putting them in M tier. They stay in C. All right.
They just stay in C. Now, Ole Miss next on Jared's list here on a bye week, but they're here sitting 5-2
Yeah.
1-2 in the SEC, which is not helping them there. Don't they have 1.5 tough games left?
1.5?
Georgia and at Florida. I mean, I'm
Okay,
giving
fair.
Florida a half. I'm
That's
giving
fair.
Florida
That's-
half
yeah, that's
from
fair,
what
fair.
we've seen. Yep.
That's fair.
But they play Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma.
Arkansas could beat them. Oklahoma, depending upon if their offense wants to show up that particular week.
So I can't put. You could convince me to put Ole Miss in B tier, but I don't feel strongly one way or another to
not this
put
week
them in B tier.
I think we're gonna leave them to the left side of C tier, because they might work their way back into B tier. But for the right now, I say we leave them in C tier. But Kyle, before instead of just going down the list, I think we need to have a specific conversation.
All right.
5-2 Big 12 teams. Because there's a whole bunch of them.
There are.
We have Colorado. We have previously mentioned Louisville. I think Utah is also 5-2. We have kind of a mess of 5-2 Big 12 teams who, I'm not saying we need to move any of them up into B tier. Yeah, we have Arizona State. That was Arizona State, Colorado Buffaloes, Cincinnati Bearcats, Texas Tech, who we just bumped down to C tier. So yeah, that's 4 teams, which roughly ties them for 4th in the Big 12. Now that I see it and I see that it's 4th in the Big 12, I'm a little less concerned about it, to be honest.
Okay.
Yep. But I think they're worth keeping on the left side of C tier just to keep our eye on.
Especially since those top 2 teams don't play each other in the regular season.
That actually doesn't help the case. That just makes it more likely that those 2 teams will end up in the championship game. Although Iowa State, like I said, does have a really tough road ahead of them. So it could very easily still be Kansas State sitting at 6-1. So as long as we have BYU, Iowa State, and Kansas State B or higher, which we do, I feel pretty comfortable here.
Okay. I do too.
As far as the Big 12 is concerned.
Yep. I agree.
Okay.
So yes,
that's it on
Colorado. You stay there.
Yeah. Colorado, Utah, Louisville, y'all hang tight.
Well, Louisville's ACC.
Not Louisville. Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Is what I meant to say.
All right, Jared. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. They were on a bye week last week. Where we talked about if they lose again.
Yeah.
We move them down to M tier.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yep.
Sitting at 4-3, 2-2 in the Big 10.
Yeah.
I think it's time.
Defending national championship asterisk. Defending national champions asterisk. Michigan goes down to M tier.
Have you seen
Kyle
such a just a downfall of just how from a championship team asterisk to go down to the next year? How much have they just plummeted?
Do me a favor.
Seen this in a long, maybe ever in my life.
I have an idea of one, since you asked the question. Check Auburn the year after their national title.
Which that was in 2010. So
because they fell off hard once Cam Newton was no longer carrying their entire football team.
They were 8-5. Yeah, I mean that was not a that was not a good year for them either.
Hey Kyle, I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
If Ryan Day who inherited a non-national title football team from Urban Meyer, was born on third base? Why are you laughing? I didn't finish the question yet, Kyle.
I know you're going, but go.
Everyone knows where I'm going. That's the joke. I don't need to finish the sentence. I'm just saying, I thought if you were just given a good football team, that was supposed to be it.
Yep.
That's what I was told. I was told that if you were given a decent roster, that everything else was just supposed to fall into place and that you're born on third base. I thought that's how that worked. Is that not how that works? Damn. I've been lied to my entire life. Kyle, what sort of expectations did Oklahoma have this year? Are they worthy of M tier?
I mean, they've plummeted.
Yeah, but are they worthy of it? Like, were their expectations that high coming into the year?
How about this? This? They're sitting here 4-3.
Yeah.
If they lose this weekend, which they easily can, I think they go in M tier. Like Oklahoma, a red collar.
Red collar?
Red collar.
Red blood?
Red blood. Thank you.
Okay.
Red blood football program. Potentially going 4-4 going into November. Like, yeah, I think Oklahoma could go into M tier next weekend here. So
I expected
that's actually a good point, Z Spikes. That is a good.
It's funny. If nothing else, it's funny.
Well, here's the thing: you expect them to. Let's look at Oklahoma's schedule. So they got to get 2 wins here. They got to get 2 wins.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So
Maine one.
Yeah.
Maine one. Yeah.
God, look at that schedule. Welcome to the SEC. My goodness.
Maybe Maine and
they still have
Missouri?
Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, and LSU. I mean, they could beat Ole Miss. They could beat Missouri. I don't think they will, though.
I mean, if there's odds saying that Oklahoma wins 1.5 games the rest of the year, I wouldn't feel comfortable betting that.
No, I sure wouldn't.
Yeah.
All
right, we got to move on to the other teams here. So you have USC on here.
I do. That
USC.
That is for the record to move
to the
them.
Big Ten.
Yeah.
3-4 now. 3-4, sitting 16th in the Big Ten.
16th.
I'm just
16th in the Big Ten. That doesn't even sound right.
Yeah. And there they are.
By the way, for the record, I pulled up the Pick 6 preview. They had them 9th in the SEC. I'm just saying, I don't think the expectations were all that high.
You mean the Big Ten?
No, I'm talking about Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma. Okay.
I was still on the Oklahoma thing.
Gotcha.
They were expected 9th
Yeah.
in the SEC. So
still ahead of UCLA. So USC, M tier, stay in C tier. They're 3-4. They're 3-4 right now.
So the question then again must be asked: what were the expectations coming into the year realistically for USC? Meh. Let me find them real quick in here. They were slated to finish 6th in the Big Ten.
You just added 1 in front of that now?
Yeah. I'd say they're not finishing anywhere near 6th in the Big Ten. Yeah, let's S tier them or M tier them rather.
Yep. Yes. USC going down to our M tier as well. Vanderbilt, and I'm trying to move a little bit quicker here. Vanderbilt on the next one here. Let's wait.
Yeah.
Let's wait until this weekend.
They play Oklahoma, right? Is that this weekend?
They...
I'm sorry, not...
No, they play Texas.
Ole Miss and Oklahoma play.
Yeah.
They play Texas.
Yeah.
You know what? I tell you what. All they have to do is beat Texas, and then I'll move them up.
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
Yeah, just beat Texas for us. We'll move you up. Wisconsin. I think I just want to keep an eye on Wisconsin for right now. They're a 2-loss team. I don't think that they belong in the B tier at this time. At 2 losses, we don't have any 2-loss teams in the B tier right now. But I think that Wisconsin is worth keeping an eye on for now. I'm not going to make the case for them to move up or down.
No, Alabama's 2 losses.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Still, and Alabama destroyed Wisconsin.
But Wisconsin plays Penn State this weekend.
See, we'll have that conversation. We'll have this conversation we're keeping an eye on Wisconsin. We're just keeping an eye on them.
All right, you have UNLV.
You know, I just felt like we needed another group of 5 team to keep an eye on. Maybe even move them.
I'm going to say keep them there.
Yeah.
They play Boise State this weekend.
Exactly.
You win, you go up. Easy as that.
Yeah, they're on the Vanderbilt plan.
Yep. Syracuse.
Again, not a team I think that should be moved up this week, but a team to keep an eye on.
Well, here's the rest of their schedule. A 5-1 Syracuse team.
Yeah.
They play Pitt this weekend.
Sure do.
You win, you go up. You win, you go up.
Yeah, you get Pitt spot.
After that,
they're on the Navy plan.
After that, Virginia Tech,
okay,
Boston College, Cal, UConn.
Very winnable.
And then they finish the year against Miami.
So 2 big games, and if they play those 2 big games well, an ACC championship game.
Yep.
I don't see it happening, but hey,
we'll see.
This crazier shit has happened.
We'll see. You have Washington State on here as well?
Only 1 loss. They're worth keeping an eye on.
Their schedule does not help them that out.
No, it does not.
San Diego State, Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, and Wyoming.
In their defense, their conference totally left them.
Yes.
In their defense, their schedule got a little upheavaled.
They had 2 games this year. One of them they won against Washington. They beat Washington earlier in the year, and they lost soundly to Boise State. It's hard for Washington State to get up. They got to have teams ahead of them to lose, and I just
a team to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, we tease you for your weird affinity for NC State. However, there's another triangle team that maybe should be getting your love and affection, and that's Duke.
I don't like the color, but that's fine. First win ever against Florida State this weekend. Ever.
Yeah, that's saying
ever
something. I'm not sure what the something is, but it says it. It says it pretty loudly.
22 straight losses to Florida State.
Yeah.
I mean, here they are.
Since Florida State joined the ACC.
Yeah.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I bet they don't play every year, so probably.
2-1. 2-1 in conference. They are 6-1 overall. I mean, their best win is against UNC, against Northwestern, Florida State. They do play SMU this weekend.
Okay.
Then immediately after that is Miami.
See, they have a path.
Then NC State, Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest. So
they can prove it on the field. They can prove it on the field.
Just like many other teams here, you just win and you go up to B tier.
I'll take you one further. This is the SWAT
2
plan.
games in a row. You win 2 games in a row. You go to A tier.
Yeah, they're on the SWAT plan right now. They're on the Navy SWAT plan.
They are.
They can take SMU's spot in B tier.
They can go to B tier next weekend, and then go to A tier the following weekend.
Sure.
All you have to do is win.
All you gotta do, Duke. All you have to do is win. It's really just that simple. Just win your football games. The Gamecocks, Kyle. The Gamecocks.
What do you want me to do with them?
Don't ask that question right after I said Gamecocks. Don't do that to me while we're recording. Do you realize all of the jokes I just had to not say?
What's their best one?
Well, they did just dismantle Oklahoma. I mean,
and that's it. That's their best win. They lost to LSU. They lost to Ole Miss. They lost to Alabama.
They lost to Alabama by 2 points.
They did. They did lose to LSU by 3.
And they lost to LSU by just 3.
But
they demolished Kentucky. They demolished Akron. They got demolished by Ole Miss. Yeah, the Ole Miss thing is really what's holding them back. Because you can excuse away a lot of this. Like, oh man, you lost by 3 points to LSU. That's a tough break. Oh man, you lost 2 points to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Man, that's a tough break.
Look at their last games here.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Wofford as an SEC tradition.
Yeah.
And then Clemson to end this season.
Yeah. Listen, Gamecocks, all you gotta do is win. All you gotta do is win your football games.
They have a path to make the playoffs. They don't have I don't think they have a path to the conference championship game, but they have a path to the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, 100% of their last 5 games, 4 of them are currently ranked. Exactly.
Yeah. Just win, baby. Yep.
All you gotta do is win. Just win your games.
Last
win your games, Gamecocks.
Last 2 here. Well, I'll tell you right now, the Texas Tech.
We already had this conversation. We talked about the 5-2 Big 12 teams that included these 2 teams. So we already had that conversation.
All right, that's fine.
So we're good.
I'm looking at Cincinnati here. Well, they're going to Colorado. I'm interested to see how Cincinnati does there.
Yeah. Listen, Cincinnati, just win that football game.
Mm-hmm.
Just win your football games, and then everything will be fine. It's college football. That's how this works. Just win all your football games.
They do have Iowa State about a month from now too.
So yeah, they can prove their way in. Just win your football games.
Yep.
Just win your football games. It'll be fine. All you got to do is win all of your football games, and then everything will be okay. This is expert analysis, by the way.
I'm looking at all these other teams here. If there's anybody worth even thinking about moving down to M tier, and I don't think so. I don't think we've ever moved 2 teams in a single week down to M tier.
Ooh, that's a good question. We'd have to ask our lore master general, but he's not here right now. Yeah, no, but this is it. This is the tier list. I feel very content in saying this is our tier list.
I agree.
The only thing I feel iffy about is I kind of want Clemson in A tier at this point, but I also don't know who to take out to put them in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is the definition of being on the playoff bubble. Like that just is what that is.
It is. Yep. I think
that's it. That's it.
I'm just looking at the other teams here, and I don't think I got anything else here. So
no, we're good. Listen, if you learned anything from this show, learn this. All you gotta do is win your football games, and you'll be fine.
Yep,
Quote Al Davis: "Just win, baby."
Just win, baby.
All right. Kyle, anything in Kyle's corner?
How about those Columbus Crew? Columbus Crew finished second in their conference, and they get to play.
Do they get to play in the conference championship game now? That's just me being a college football. It's a college football joke. Don't worry about it. Just move forward. Ignore me. Ignore the man behind the curtain.
Well,
Ignore the clown.
They get to play the team that they just beat this weekend, the New York Red Bulls.
There you go.
They play. When is it? The 29th. So more than a week. More than a week now. They have best of 3 coming up here against the Red Bulls.
There you go. All right. Anything else in Kyle's corner?
I don't think so. I think we'll just end it there.
All right. Reminder, follow Ohio State, and actually you can follow us. I'm not exactly sure how you find us per se on the Bleacher Report app, but we will be doing what to my knowledge, is our final Bleacher Report stream of the year. I did find it once. Good job, Spikes. If you're in our Discord server, you will find it because we will send you the link. But we'll be doing a Bleacher Report live stream on the Bleacher Report app immediately after the Nebraska game on Saturday. The link will work. Your app didn't work, and that's your fault, Spikes. Yeah. That is you're. So this is it. Everyone else got in just fine. The link was fine. I didn't make the app. Prove it. Prove you didn't make the app.
Yeah, so this is a noon game. So we'll be going live roughly around 3:30.
Yeah, roughly 3:30. So if you can find us on the Bleacher Report app, do that. If not, just on Discord, we'll send you the link. And also just follow Ohio State on the Bleacher Report app. You may or may not get a push notification. But like I said, just discord.thesloopcast.com. We'll send you the link. It's just that easy. And that's it. Tonight's ending music is, we'll be doing Signals Midwest, who are a Northeast Ohio band. So with all that being said, I'd like, let's do the song Alchemy Hour. Signals Midwest, the song is Alchemy Hour. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support local podcasters. Once again, these are Signals Midwest.